Game on, Weekend Warriors. Welcome into episode number 60 of the Weekendology podcast. Weekendology is the only podcast with the hottest takes, the best talking points, and the stories to spark your weekend conversations. We cover everything related to all the best topics from music, movies, sports, food, and more. I'll be your host, Will Deichley, alongside the one, the only Aaron Berg. Aaron, what's up, man? Are you gearing up for the Super Bowl this weekend?
Oh, you bet. Tom Brady.
Don't be rooting for Tom Brady.
I'm back on the Brady train.
No,
you heard it here first.
Patrick Mahomes all the way. Chiefs are going to win it. Back to back.
Bandwagon.
No, you're hopping on that Bucks bandwagon.
Oh, no. I'm hopping on the Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski bandwagon.
Ooh,
that's it. I don't support the Buccaneers, just those two.
That's the worst.
They're still traitors in my heart, but I'm rooting for them.
No.
And as a St. Louis guy, you can't be rooting for a Kansas City team.
They're still in Missouri, so I got to support the show me state, the home state.
I mean,
Chiefs are the way to go. So Andy Reid's also hilarious on the sidelines.
There's teams that are in the same city and they don't root for each other. So.
I mean, I'm going for Chiefs, man. I can't root for Tom Brady.
I do love Mahomes. I mean, he's legendary.
He is legendary.
But he's going to win 10 more Super Bowls.
So, yeah, have 10 more Super Bowls.
You got time. That's what I'm saying. Brady, we got a couple years left of greatness.
Well, thanks for all of our returning listeners for joining us again and this week. And if you're new to the show, welcome. The show's all about changing, improving, and making things better as we cover all the best topics from around the pop culture and the sports world. Be sure to check out our backlog of 59 different episodes, especially last week's episode where we talk about the ethics of the food industry. So many great conversation topics, so many different ways to enjoy the weekend. So go check it out. There's lots of great episodes out there, so we would love to hear from you as well. Weekendology is brought to you by the Big Red World Podcasting Network. They're a St. Louis-based podcasting network. They got some great ones like The House That Rick Built and Six Drunk, One Sober. They're up on Twitter at Big Red Social, and their website is bigredworld.org as well. Don't forget to check out our webpage on the Big Red World's websites for links to our episodes, social handles, and even blogs about our latest content. Show your love and support and follow us as well. You can find us on Twitter at Weekendology Pod or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to check out our sports stuff, we've got a sports handle at Weekendology Sports, and our entertainment handle is at Weekendology ENT as well. And if Twitter's not your thing, go check us out on Facebook, because we got all the best updates on Facebook and everywhere you listen to podcasts too. So, yeah, we're happy to have another episode then, and we're moving on to our pick of the week.
We're happy they're keeping us around.
They're keeping us around. Shout out to MZ Studios as well for hosting us for this week too. Always great to be into the kind of our second home, our home away from home for the podcast, and you can't see it right now.
It's like a vacation home.
You
go to your nicer spot. It's on the beach.
Yeah,
it's nice weather.
I just need somebody to be bringing us drinks and everything.
Yeah.
Be good to go. So
looking at Spider over there.
Maybe our producer will help us with some drinks and everything. But
I love saying that because we're in the Deichley Studios. We can't look over at a producer.
No, we don't have a. Well, I am the producer at my own our own.
Oh,
studio,
whoa!
So
taking credit here. What?
I
co-producer.
You're the co-host.
I'm just a co-host.
Yep. Yeah. You've been demoted, Aaron.
Oh,
so.
Wow, rough life.
You can regain your status if you give me a great pick of the week for this week. What are we watching? What are we listening to?
Oh, I got an interesting one.
Okay, go for it.
So, do you watch A&E, like the channel?
Yes.
Have you heard of 60 Days In?
Is that the prison show?
Yeah.
Yes, I have
just came across this.
Great show, actually.
So I finished the first season in a couple days. There's a lot. There's like 6 or 7 seasons.
I know. There's a lot of episodes.
A lot to catch up on, but man, what a concept. If you haven't seen it, it's basically these innocent people, this various prisons. But the first one was in Indiana. They wanted to start a program where they bring innocent people and have them stay 2 months, 60 days in a prison. Real prisoners, just they have a backstory, like a cover story, made up crime, made up names in some cases. Muhammad Ali's daughter was one of the people in it, so interesting. Have you seen this?
I have seen this. Not that one, but I know like the one.
You've seen episodes.
I've seen the episodes. It's really, really crazy to be. I could never do this.
They are in front of.
Days.
I mean, there's prison fights. They find shanks. All the things you see and hear about prison, it's happening right in front of them, and none of this is staged. And then the people at the end of the show, if they can get through it, 'cause some don't make it, then they bring back. And the point of the program isn't just, hey, you see what it's like. I mean, some of it is to show regular people who probably would never be in that environment.
Right.
It's actually jail. Excuse me. It's not prison. It's jail. but to show the bad parts of jail, but really what needs to be fixed, and so they can go back to the guards or to the sheriff or people like that.
It's so crazy, and I
kind of like this podcast,
How
can you improve or change things?
Maybe we should do an episode on the prison reform system or something. I don't know.
Spend a night in prison?
No, I will never spend a night
jail.
in prison.
I keep messing that up. It's jail what they're spending their time in.
No, it is a great show. It's up on Netflix. It's on Netflix,
it's
right?
A&E. I was watching it on Hulu. So if you have Hulu, you can watch
Hulu
it.
Then. Yeah. So I do like that show. It is a pretty fascinating show. My pick of the week is also a very riveting show.
Did I redeem myself?
You did redeem yourself. So
I'm co-producer too?
You're co-producer, yes.
Nice.
Yeah. No, mine's a drama. Designated Survivor. I don't know if you've ever seen the show. It was on ABC for a couple years. It got picked up by Netflix for its final run.
I saw like a preview of it.
It's such a fascinating and intriguing show. Basically, Designated Survivor is somebody who is designated to become president if a catastrophe happens to all of the other, I guess, people in the House and the Senate and basically the government. And so basically, like, the Capitol is blown up. So
it's like Olympus has fallen.
Pretty much, kind of. And so, like, this guy who has no political experience at all becomes president, and he's at the heart of this crazy conspiracy that goes super deep. And I've never seen a show like this where there's constant mysteries and cliffhangers off of it since I've watched Lost. And it's a great show. I've binge watched through the first season and a half in like 5 days. So it's that good of a show. So definitely go check it out if you like kind of the political spy thriller conspiracy theory type of shows. It's pretty darn good.
It sounds like a combination of Man of the Year with Robin Williams and I think it's Man of the Year.
Probably
president.
Maybe a little bit less humor though with
and Olympus has fallen. It's like that.
it's kind of like that. So.
It's like we're down to the last person who could be president.
Kiefer Sutherland is in it though, so
of course you have to.
He's a great guy, great lead, and Cal Penn's in it too.
Oh wow,
yeah, it's got
he's
some
been doing more serious stuff. I feel like he's trying to really like put Harold and Kumar to bed and be like, no, I'm serious too.
Well, he has a poli-sci major, and he was a consultant for the White House for a little while as well. So he has
recently, or
I don't know, probably like 5-6 years ago or something.
Not in his Harold and Kumar days.
No,
right?
no. Okay. But he has some political acumen. So he's a consultant on the show, and he's done political work in the past. Yeah. So he fits the part quite well. He's Speaker of the House for it. So no, press secretary. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm teaching about government, Aaron. So definitely go check it out.
You can just say whatever. I believe you because I don't know anything about that.
That's okay. So we're moving on to the main bulk of the show now, Aaron. We have a really special guest with us this week as we delve into the realm of esports again. We've got former SLU Billiken. He's a good friend of mine, co-founder of a rising esports platform called Mission Control. Please welcome Byron Albrigg. Byron, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing well. Will, Aaron, thank you both so much for having me.
Yeah, happy to have you on. Thanks for coming on to the show tonight. Really excited to get this one off because we had a couple episodes in esports already. Go check them out if you haven't. The future of video games. We talk about esports and the rise of esports as well. Some of our earlier episodes. But
have you listened, Byron?
I've not checked those specific episodes out, but I will definitely add them to my list now.
Good answer.
Yeah, that'll be your pick of the week then for this week. So, but
trying to get in our good graces.
Yes, as redeem yourself as you got to be go back up the co-producer like Aaron.
So. Yeah, see, like that's the thing with Will, man. You gotta do a lot of things to redeem yourself.
Exactly.
You fall off the ledge pretty quick with him.
Yeah, you do. So, no, Byron, we're happy.
My work cut out for me.
Yeah.
So you're the co-founder of Mission Control, and I'm excited to talk about this because, one, esports is always a very popular topic. I love video games, and I really do love how your kind of business and platform is being run. So tell us a little bit about, kind of who you are, what Mission Control does, and how you got started in that.
Yeah, most certainly. So Byron Albrigg, as Will had mentioned, fellow SLU graduated back in 2017, originally from Ohio, but at SLU studied business, entrepreneurship, economics. And while I was there, I got exposed to the world of sports tech and esports. I had the chance to work for an early stage venture capital firm called Stadia Ventures that's based out of St. Louis. With my best friend from college, Austin. And while we were there, we were learning all about the sports tech space, in this emerging space that was esports. And what we began to find were a lot of similarities that existed between the two. As I'm sure that you two probably talked about in your previous podcasts on it. You've got the pro leagues, you've got the amateur tournaments where you can win money. You even got college programs, high school programs, and the like. But what we didn't see in esports that was thriving in traditional sports was that recreational esports experience, the college intramurals, the beer league esports type experience. And for Austin and I, video games for us was always just something we did to hang out with our friends. It was what we did in college, playing zombies into the late nights on our Xbox 360. Neither of us were that good, but it was what we did to hang out. It was how our community gathered. And while we were at Stadia and we were learning about esports, and we saw this parallel to traditional sports, we were like, why isn't there that experience? And because we didn't see it, and we really thought there was a market opportunity there, we decided to quit our jobs to build it. And so that's how we came to Mission Control. And Mission Control is a platform that helps gather communities and grow them through recreational esports. So we work with organizations like college intramural departments, park and rec departments, YMCA's, charities, etc. Typically organizations that would run, traditional basketball leagues or soccer leagues for their community. But instead of running a rec league in basketball or soccer, they do it in FIFA or Fortnite or League of Legends. And our platform serves as a way for organizations to create and host these leagues, but also manage their community. And then for players, it's an opportunity to communicate with their friends, to meet new people, to compete, keep track of their stats, all in their favorite video games.
So is this age groups? Like, do you have it for kids and adults and college students, or how do you section that off?
Good question. So we're out of our customer base, I'd probably say about 45% are colleges, 45% are park and rec departments. So colleges, obviously, skewing 18 to 25. Park and rec departments typically service both teenagers and adults. We do work with some organizations that are primarily focused on teenagers, and some that are primarily focused on 18 and older. But we do have a pretty good mix. I would say, though, the majority of our customer base is definitely 18 and older.
So is this more of like a social media platform for gamers, or can they interact with each other? Or are they able to, I guess, form a community with the leagues that they're in? Or is it just come here, just have a good time and just play?
It's a great question. So essentially, I would say that we took inspiration from two primary platforms: the experience of being in an ESPN or Yahoo fantasy football league and a GroupMe, and we combined those two together. The additional piece is kind of like a Facebook page. So essentially, you're a user, you download our app, you create a profile, and then you find an organization that you're a part of. Maybe it's the Dallas Park and Rec Department, or maybe it's St. Louis University Intramurals. You go join that group, kind of like liking a Facebook page, which gives you access to the programming that organization offers. You
Gotcha.
then see all of the leagues and tournaments that they're offering, and you can join any ones that you play. And once you're in there, you then chat with everyone else, trash talk, chat, all the other people in the league. Each week you have a specific opponent, so you have, a one-off match chat with them. But we really wanted that kind of experience of a GroupMe, where you're sending gifts and emojis and photos and everything with your buddies. And then you have that opportunity to keep track of your stats, just like you do in a fantasy league.
Gotcha. So this is a very organized type of thing here. I was looking on your website, and you guys have some really, really great partnerships too. I mean, Duke is partnered with you guys. You have Boys and Girls Club of Greater Dallas, a lot of like Southern aspects, like GameStop as well, that you guys are partnered with. So these are major brands. How did you guys get to be so partnered with some of these big logos, right off the bat?
It's a great question. So we've been around for a little over 2 years now. We were founded back in, October of 2018. And once we were about a year in, we really started to try to go out to the marketplace and sell to customers. And within our first 3 months, we got about 30 organizations. We were just giving the platform away for free just to get people on. And Duke happened to be one of those first organizations that we met actually at a conference. who was really intrigued by what we were doing, had been toying with how do we bring esports to Duke. And we had the opportunity to work with them. Over the course of the last year, we shifted from that paid model to now organizations pay us an annual fee to have access to the platform. And because of some of those early customers that we got, those opened up additional doors that led to new opportunities. Additionally, coming from the venture capital realm in sports, we were really fortunate to enter into this business with a really great network of established people in the marketplace. Our chief revenue officer, who was one of our very first advisors before he came to join us, he was the head of partnerships and revenue, chief revenue officer at Complexity Gaming, which is the professional esports team owned by Jerry Jones. So when we had the opportunity to start working with him, he had already set up partnerships with GameStop, with the Marines, with a whole bunch of other huge brands and businesses. And because he was able to come be part of our team, it really opened up the door to start working with GameStop, to start working with Special Olympics of New York, with the military, and a number of other really big brand names out of the bat.
Yeah, it's such a good idea. I mean, I'm just fascinated that, it's one of those things where you always think, why didn't I think of that? I mean, it's so crazy to put it in that perspective of thinking, well, with sports, everyone likes playing basketball, for example, and there's a pro level and there's minor leagues, and then you get the people that they won't make it to that level. They just won't, but they still like playing it. So where's their chance to play it, but also on a competitive level?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that I can go pro at FIFA or
right, but you still like
Call
to
of
compete,
Duty, or,
and you want that
play.
like one up from just playing Xbox Live or something,
right? Yeah,
but
exactly.
Yeah, and I just want to ask, what made you? Because I'm always so fascinated just by entrepreneurs in general. Because I think what a risk. I mean, that's incredible that like you said, you quit your job and just said, you literally quit your day job and just like, I'm going for it. What were you seeing in the esports industry, and especially you being, sorry, but so young. I hate when people say that. I hate when people do that to me. And they're like, "You're so young."
Young
but like,
whippersnappers out there.
You graduated in 2017.
So
I mean,
old, Aaron.
yeah, and I am. But like, you graduated in 2017. What gave you that confidence, or what were you seeing in the esports world, or just in the world in general, to say, "Yep, now's the time. I can go for this." And this can be really a career moving forward.
So when Austin and I were at Stadia, I remember for the first year or two that we were working there, esports was something that, was just a buzzword still. It wasn't anything that we weren't seeing deal flow around it. We hadn't invested in any companies that were in the esports space. And once we started to dive into it, and we were looking at all of these companies that were coming up, for us, what we saw was everyone wanted to just try to cater to the pro gamer, the person that wanted to win a whole bunch of money or wanted to become the best. And that paralleled to us how a lot of sports companies, sports startups especially, come into play, where, hey, they decide they've got a great idea. They just want to go sell to all Major League Baseball teams.
Yeah, you just want to go for the biggest thing because it's most visible.
Yep. If you go after, the four major leagues, the four main leagues, and you go after all of the teams, if you sell to every single one of them, you've sold to like 120 clients. That's not a great business. Sure, it's great for the brand value of saying you work with the St. Louis Cardinals or the Dallas Cowboys, but that's really hard to build a business there. So when we were looking at sports companies, we were always looking at who are servicing the smaller athletes, the larger marketplace. And when you looked at those numbers, there are about 68 million Americans who play team-based sports. When you compare that to video games, however, there are 103 million Americans who play multiplayer video games. That's
quite a
35 million more people. Quite a jump there.
Yeah, yeah.
And we didn't see, companies trying to cater to those gamers, because out of those, 103 million, maybe a million, maybe even 5 million, sure, we'll give you that number, are good enough or have an aspiration to try to become a pro. What do you do for everyone else? And we were here looking at deal flow, and we couldn't see any companies that were trying to do that. And so it just kind of reached the point where we said, hey, I think we've got this idea. I think this is pretty decent. We aren't seeing any companies that are doing this. Let's just take the leap. And for Austin and I at the time, we were 23. And I think we were kind of like, what the hell, now or never. Why not take that risk now? And hey, if it doesn't work out, we learned a lot, and we can move on to the next opportunity.
I think that's the right mentality to have. And this is esports is a $1 billion franchise or industry, I should say. So how important is it to stay true to your own goals and ethics with it, but also not get lost in the vast ocean of all of these different esports leagues? Because ESPN is always going to be there. There's always going to be Microsoft or Sony to sponsor teams. In one of our episodes, we talked about Amazon was getting into the esports business too. So you've got these huge Fortune 50 companies getting into it. How do you see yourself competing, I guess, in that area, or staying relevant?
So one of the things that I think I'm not to toot our horns, but I think something.
No, this is what you're here for. Promote your platform.
We brought you on to do just that.
Yeah, show us what you got, because we like it, but not everybody else might understand what you do. So.
Yeah. So one of the things that Austin and I, we both studied economics in college. So for us, one of the things we talked a lot about in economics was finding mutually beneficial relationships. You have this good, I have money, I'm going to pay you for this good, and vice versa. So when we came into the marketplace and we were looking at companies that popped up, or that, were the big names in the space, if you will, and instead of us looking at them immediately as competition, something to be feared, we said, well, how can we be a benefit to you? What are your goals? And how can we help you accomplish those? So for instance, we work with the Wise eSports, which has the Minnesota Roker, which is one of the professional Call of Duty teams, and Version 1 V1, which is one of the professional Rocket League teams. And, they have, some of the best gamers in those respective titles, in the country, in the world. And they, could look at our platform and say, okay, that doesn't have anything to do with our gamers. We wouldn't be interested. Well, what they've looked at our platform instead to do is an opportunity for them to engage with their fans. This is a way to engage the most casual gamers, at home who, maybe they aspire in the same way that I aspire to play for the Dallas Cowboys one day, but I know I'm not going to do that. But I want that type of experience that they might have. Well, the Roker, are looking at our platform as a way for them to provide that type of structure and experience. We went and started talking to some of the companies like Collegiate Star League and World Gaming, who do maybe college level, varsity and professional or amateur tournaments. And we said, okay, how can we work with you? What are you looking for? Maybe they're looking for more users, or they're looking for the opportunity to engage a larger gamer base. And we said, well, hey, look, this is the area of the market we're looking to cater to. Maybe we can be a gateway to your organization. So I think one of the things that served us really well from the beginning was not looking at everyone as competition, and going and starting conversations with the people that on the surface may look like competition, but instead we said, hey, I think we could work together. How can we find a way to benefit each other here?
I think that's just a perfect strategy, though.
Yeah,
because,
I think that's the great way to go about it.
Yeah, when you're that small, your first thought has to be, well, why would anyone want to work with me? I'm small. I'm a nobody, essentially,
right.
So you're putting people's guard down. I mean, that's just genius, to put someone's guard down and say, hey, I'm not trying to take you over. I know I'm not going to.
Right.
But how can I help you and you help me, and we can work together almost? Because I feel like in you see this like on Shark Tank, or just any of those types of business shows, or, in business a lot. I feel like companies will start and they're just like, okay, I'm going to be the next Amazon or whatever. And it's so unrealistic.
Yeah.
But it's like, because they're not looking at they just want to look at what's in it for me. And that's how everyone's looking at it. So by bringing that all level, like you're doing yourself, I mean, that's great. And look, you got Duke, or you got these huge, other people and other companies on your side now.
Major brands that
right
are
away
with
too. You don't need to spend 15 years building yourself up and then go to them and say, okay, I'm worthwhile. You're saying in year one, essentially, no, we're worthwhile because I will help you. So that's great.
Byron, you're clearly a smart guy. You're.
Well, he went to SLU. So
he went to SLU. I love this is what I love about what you guys do at Mission Control and just the area that you're in too. Because I think games are so important as a level of a stress relief, form of self-expression. You guys are in a very both entertaining space, but also a very crucial space as well. So how important it is for your platform for people to stay connected, or how important is it for gamers to stay connected with each other? Because, I mean, now we're all usually fairly isolated within the last year or so. So, and games is kind of the bridge to bring us together. Wouldn't you agree?
I completely agree. I look at my personal, just my friendships over the course of the last year. So I live in St. Louis, but my girlfriend is based down in Houston. And right at the beginning of COVID back in March, I came down here and ended up being down here for a month or 2.5 months. I've been down here now for the last month and a half as well. And, during that time, I brought my PlayStation down. And if it wasn't for my PS4 and Warzone, I would not have spent any time hanging out with my friends in St. Louis if it wasn't for that. Gaming was that bridge for my friends, for us to hop on and play for an hour or two, just like we would normally on a Thursday night on one of our couches. Instead, we were in different states, in different cities, what have you, but video games is what connected us. And honestly, we were really fortunate to be in a position back in March where, we had a platform that could allow organizations to keep their community connected from afar. We were working with the Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment organization up in Toronto at that time. We were part of a mini kind of accelerator up there, and they had just started doing some employee leagues prior to COVID beginning. And those leagues continued during COVID. And what they saw were conversations happening between, coworkers across departments, some of whom maybe were furloughed or laid off, some of whom were still working. And it was an opportunity for them to talk, to chat, to build new relationships, to console each other and so on. That, that was a type of connective tissue that wouldn't have existed otherwise if it wasn't for gaming. And so we've been really fortunate over the course of the last year to be in a position that we can help colleges whose students aren't back on campus still meet other students who have similar interests and get to have some of the competition and maybe a sense of what normalcy would be like if not for being remote the whole time.
Yeah, I can't tell you how important video games have been to me this last year, with just being away from the public for most of the time and not being able to see most of the friends that I have, is being able to go sit down and play a game of FIFA with a couple of buddies that I know, or sit down and play online for Madden or Uncharted or whatever game it is. That connection you don't get in a lot of other things too. So that's why I love the platform so much. What kind of games can we expect to see on Mission Control? Is it just limited to sports games, or what kind of variety do you guys have?
So we started early on. We handpicked about a dozen titles, and our very beginnings were looking at the sports games, looking at more casual titles like Super Smash Brothers or Mario Kart. The game that has honestly been hands down the most popular for us from the very beginning has been Rocket League. There are a number of reasons that it's so great. It's quick. They're 5-minute games. It's really easy to pick it up and understand what's happening. And it takes quite a while to be really good at it. But it also, you have the opportunity can do 1v1s all the way up to 4v4s. So that was a mainstay of ours from the very beginning. We recently, though, in the last month, just rolled out a brand new version of the platform, essentially rebuilt from the ground up, and we now support 36 titles. So we went from about 1 dozen to now 3 dozen, and obviously keeps those same titles, but it also has the more traditional eSports, such as League of Legends, Overwatch, Valorant, and even more. But we also have like Sports with Friends and chess and Clash Royale and Clash of Clans. We really have a wide range that, you know, hopefully allows our organizations, our customers, to really be able to serve the wide range of gamers that exist in their community.
Yeah, I see. I listen to your games, and these are games that are streamed and featured on major platforms. On Twitch, they're on YouTube. A lot of these games are high-level types of esports. So is it a goal maybe for Mission Control to have some of your platform maybe transition towards being streamed on one of these major streaming platforms?
You know, streaming is something that we have thought a lot about, but not really put much focus on quite yet. And the main reason for that is the majority of our players on Mission Control really aren't necessarily the people that would get on and stream. It's not to say that maybe they don't watch, you know, they don't watch a streamer or watch their friend stream or maybe dabble occasionally. But for them, streaming and having that attention maybe isn't the first thing that they think about. You know, especially in maybe a game like Super Smash or Mario Kart, you know, it's something that, again, is much more of a casual experience. Where we see a real opportunity is a lot of our organizations love it when their players stream because it provides them the opportunity to gather great content. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, one of the organizations we've had the chance to work with over the last year has been the Special Olympics of New York. And one of the things that they've done in the seasons that they've run, especially once they get into the playoffs, is they want to stream that because that's awesome content that they can put out to their community, put out on their Facebook page and their other social media groups, and to really be able to show to donors, hey, look at what we are still being able to provide to our athletes, even when they can't come together and play sports in person. We also see a real opportunity to begin working with streamers, and it's something that we want to do this year. You know, begin to work with some of the smaller streamers, maybe not the really big ones, but, you know, more of the micro ones. That here's an opportunity for them to get to engage with their community in a completely different way. You know, hey, join a league with your favorite streamer, and you get to play with them and maybe hop on and actually stream with them one day. I think that's a really cool fan engagement experience that nothing like that has happened so far.
Yeah, got to get those micro influences out there. So we did we did an episode on different types of social media influencers.
We've covered all the bases.
We've covered all the bases then. So
how global do you see this getting? I mean, I want to really get into that because, I mean, mentioning like working with Maple Leaf Sports and obviously all across America, you know, going to New York and all those sorts of places. How big do you see this getting? I mean, are you already in certain countries? Are you looking into get to other countries? I mean, obviously Japan's a huge market, and you know, Asia in general, or Europe. I mean, how global are you looking to get this?
For sure. So right now, our entire customer base is North America. We have a handful of customers up in Canada. But the rest of our customer base is entirely in the U.S. And that has primarily been lowest hanging fruit, lowest barrier to entry here domestically. It's also just been, you know, where our business focus has been. You know, our platform right now, you know, is just in English. You know, just supports, you know, transactions in U.S. dollars and so on. We certainly see an opportunity to begin expanding internationally, especially with some of the customers that we work with, you know, groups like Special Olympics or the military. They have locations around the world. And the opportunity to have someone in, you know, Germany playing against someone in New York, against someone in France, you know, and someone in China, like that's an amazing experience that could only happen through video games. Honestly, the biggest reason right now that we, you know, are keeping our focus, you know, trained to English speaking North America is really just a matter of resources. You know, we are only a team of so many people with so much time. For us, we want to make sure that we do what we're doing right now really well before we begin to look at those other opportunities abroad.
Yeah, a lot of the times, when we talked about our previous episodes, and you see in esports, is it's such a huge explosion and it goes so quickly, but a lot of the times there's a big weakness in its disorganization. There's sometimes a lot of a big scattered mess. There's not really no governing body as to how the really top pro leagues are run. There's a lot of different organizations that try and run stuff. So
it's like they grow too fast and they get ahead of themselves.
Exactly. So I think that's the smart thing to do, is to take it one step at a time, and not trying to, you got to take the crawl, walk, run approach. Yeah. And that's what it is, right?
You're like, is that the right order?
Yes, it is. Crawl, walk, run. So you don't want to be able to, have to go too far out there. And I like what you guys are doing with it.
When you're making sure it's good too. I like that part also, because I feel like a lot of people, just with any business in general, they just want to get to the end really quick, and that's anybody. I mean, of course, you want to make the most money
There's
you can.
No get rich quick, and
you want to be big quick, and it's like, but you're not going to get there if you don't focus and make step one great.
And
step
esports
two
is
just as great.
Such a competitive market too.
Right.
I mean, look at all of
your flaws will be pointed out.
Right. You might be the only one within this particular niche, but I guarantee there's probably going to be people who are going to be mimicking you in the future, Byron, and trying to compete with you. So are you guys prepared for that competition?
It is something that, especially in the last 6 months, we have begun to become a lot more aware of. So I think one of the things from the beginning that has really allowed us to stick out in the marketplace is the fact that we have been focused on B2B instead of B2C. So many esports startups out there are very focused first and foremost on players. And for us, we saw a real opportunity to focus first and foremost on organizations. Focus on the businesses that run these leagues. And yes, we're ultimately servicing players and consumers at the end of the day as well. But for us, we wanted to focus on the businesses themselves. And that was something that we felt early on was a real, opportunity for us to differentiate ourselves. Additionally, I think for the first year and a half that we were around, we were the only group that was really talking about recreational esports. I can remember early on us going and talking to the handful of esports VCs out there or other esports startups, and it took them a while to really try to understand where we were trying to enter the marketplace, because for them, esports was just what you saw on Twitch, and the League of Legends World Championship. It wasn't a Dallas Park and Rec department running a Mario Kart league.
Right.
And those were two very different things. And so I've really seen in the last 6 months that people have started to talk about that, that phrase a little bit more, recreational esports. So it's something that we are thinking a ton about. I think something that's super important, just following up on kind of the point that we just talked about, is remaining focused. I mean, we see so many opportunities. We see opportunities of focusing more B2C. We see opportunities of even expanding into traditional sports. And for us, it's what can we do really, really well? And for that, it's recreational esports. It's servicing organizations. It's helping them learn more about their community, gather data and understand their community and really help them find success. That's the niche that we really want to focus on. And those opportunities will still be there. And, we're going to certainly have them on our radar. But we think if we stick to what we know really well and we just try to be excellent at that, that we can continue to really carve out and expand the niche that we service.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea of it. So one question for you, too, before we start to wrap up is, all right, so everything goes according to plan. 5 years from now, what do you want the main thing to Mission Control to be known for?
Oh, that's a good one.
I know I'm giving you some hard questions here.
Interview question. What's your 5-year plan?
Well, what's the main thing where do you want to see it go? Because obviously you want to expand the business and you want to expand your space in the industry. Yep. So, what's the ultimate goal, I guess, in terms of the company?
So I think first and foremost, and maybe this is a bit of a cop-out answer, but what I'm going to say is, our mission as a business is to gather and grow communities. And for us, that happens right now to just be through video games, through recreational esports. 5 years from now, I want us to be a preeminent gatherer and grower of communities. If we can do that really, really, really well, I'm going to feel really good about what we've built with Mission Control. And I firmly, I have no doubt that we will see pivots and we will see changes. And what we are today, is different, in a lot of ways, but than it was a year ago. And I'm sure what we look like a year from now will also look different from what we are today. But the one thing that hasn't changed for us is that focus on community. And 5 years from now, I want to join you guys again on here and say, yeah, we have kicked ass at building and growing communities. And that's something that I'm, really proud of what Mission Control has been able to do. And, if we're able to do that well, I firmly believe we'll be successful in a lot of other ways too.
Well, we will be happy to have you on in 5 years, and we will be regularly checking up with you as well, plugging you and promoting you, because I'm a firm believer in there is no gaming industry, video game industry, esports without the people and the community that makes it up. So,
well, and that's what I want to ask too. Asking 5 years down the road where you see yourself. Because we discussed this when we did our esports episode, where do you see just the industry going? And also, I mean, I'm sure you have a positive outlook on it. What hurdles do you see coming up, and what do you think, how will you have to jump through those hurdles to move forward?
No, it's something I'm thinking, we're thinking and talking a lot about. I think that this past year sped up the inevitable in a lot of ways of businesses, of organizations, recognizing that esports is here to stay, and esports is something that they need to be, that has to become a part of their strategy, video games and what that looks like. I think the two things that really come to mind that I think are really exciting about the future of video games and esports, and I think are only going to help its expansion. One is the increasing prevalence of cross-platform play. It was phenomenal in the last two Call of Duties, and the most recent one, Cold War, Black Ops, and the previous one, Modern Warfare, to begin to see cross-platform play. Epic has done a phenomenal job from the very beginning of making that a mainstay. And that's something that only begins to break down the barriers of people being able to compete against each other. And that's something that I'm really excited to see only begin to increase. The second thing is esports beginning to trickle down and infrastructure being built at the lower stages of play. Traditional sports were built from the ground up. First, it started, you just play, you're playing baseball in the backyard, and then you get a bunch of people who are really good and they form a league, and then, okay, that grows, and now you've got, from just your friends to high school to college to minor leagues to pros, etc. Esports has been built in reverse. It started with the pros and it started to make its way down. I think within the next 5 years, you're really going to start to see the little leagues of esports, the YMCAs of esports begin to pop up that, 5 years ago, you would have been laughed at if you talked about those types of things. I think one of the biggest hurdles that exists in the industry is going to be over IP and the ownership of content. Various video game developers, one of the things that's different about esports as opposed to traditional sports is no one owns the IP of basketball, but someone owns the IP of League of Legends. And, if someone goes and plays basketball, if you take a video of that, post it on Instagram, you can make as much money off of that as you want. If you go and do that of League of Legends or Super Smash Brothers or Overwatch, that publisher or that developer may not be okay with you doing that. Who owns that content? Who owns that ability for you to create that art? I think that's going to be a question that right now hasn't been asked too much, but I think is going to be a really frequent question over the course of the next 5 years as to what is the stance that these publishers who yield so much power in the world of esports, what are they going to do with content creators with this, democratization of everything else, how is that going to play into esports? I think that's one huge hurdle that the industry is really going to have to figure out.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to bring up, because when we talked about the different types of streaming platforms that are out there, and when you go out and be a streamer or a YouTuber or an influencer or whatever, you're basically being an entrepreneur. You're doing it on your own, but you run the risk of external forces and circumstances potentially limiting your ability to make an income or to make the content that you want, because you're reliant upon, them being okay with you publishing content about their video games or whatever it is. So I think the ecosystem comes into it of having the big streaming platforms be in conjunction with the game publishers, be in conjunction with the different types of esports leagues or the YouTubers or whatever it is, to have that cohesive ecosystem. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot of barriers to entry, and it's going to be an issue, like you said, Byron. So,
and I think one thing to add on that is even taking the streaming, but you think of professional. One of the things that a game like League of Legends isn't going anywhere. A game like Call of Duty really isn't going anywhere anytime soon. But something like Overwatch, which was a title that was created purely to become an esport, it's a difficult sell, I think, for some investors to ask, why should I invest in a title that we're essentially creating from scratch and I don't know if it's going to be successful or not? It's not like you go and invest in a team in the NFL. The NFL is not going belly up anytime soon, and they aren't just going to decide that we're not playing football anymore. Well, Activision Blizzard could decide in a year, we're not going to make Overwatch anymore. And this investment that these, individuals have made in owning a franchise in this is not worth anything. So it's not just, what are you beholden to as a content creator? But if you're looking at becoming a professional, owner of a team, how do you know that the IP is still going to exist in 5 years and that's a worthwhile investment? It's a very different equation.
Yeah, it definitely thinks it brings up some interesting topics and talking points, and I'm excited for the future of esports, and I'm very excited for the future of Mission Control. So, Byron, thanks for joining us here on Weekendology. Where can they find you? Do you have Twitter, Facebook?
Yes, so you can check out at Mission Control at missioncontrol.gg. And you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn as well. I'm on LinkedIn too, Byron Albrigg on there. Looking forward to having you follow us along on our journey and game with us.
Yeah, what is that GG? I saw that on your website. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, so
good
GG
game
in gaming terms, is stands for good game. And it's something that
you knew that.
The dot.
Of course,
GG,
I knew that.
You didn't know that.
I did know that.
Of course,
I'm a gamer.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that .gg, just like .com, it exists. So .gg technically stands for like the Queen's Dependency of Guernsey, and it's some like super small island off of the coast of Australia.
That's what I was gonna guess.
Okay, I didn't know that, but I did know that GG was good.
It's really easy to get. It's much easier to get .gg than it is to get .com.
Right.
So
it's like
we really
my
wanted to
bookie
play into the good
AI
game.
and,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And Byron, thanks for joining us. If you like what we talked about in today's episode, let's continue the conversation. How are esports faring against regular sports leagues across the world? And how important is it for you to stay How important is it for people to...
I can jump in.
You can jump in. I'm
a co-producer now.
Co-producer.
I can jump in.
I'm struggling here. But how important is it for video games to be used as a form of stress relief and that community? So hit us up on Twitter, YouTube, every social media, and let us know what your thoughts are as well. Aaron, jump in here because I'm struggling here. I got something in my back of my throat here.
Make sure to check out Byron.
Oh, man.
And listen to our next episode. I don't have the notes.
Spider can edit that part out. Share with us your thoughts on this.
Do it live.
Share with us your thoughts on those social handles as well, and keep up to date on everything related to sports, music, movies, TVs, and more. Check us out on Twitter at Weekendology Pod. We're on YouTube at Weekendology Podcast. Check out Byron and Mission Control at their website, missioncontrol.gg.
Stay tuned for Sting. He'll play us out.
Yes.
Play us out. What is that?
What nobody knows what that means. Weekendology is brought to you by the Big Red World. Check them out on Big Red Social, and their website is bigredworld.org. We've got new episodes every Friday. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you guys next time.